Hey guys, tonight we're taking a deep, calming breath and easing into the utterly serene world of ancient Greek olive harvests. Forget the epic battles, the dramatic tragedies, the philosophical arguments that kept everyone up at night. Tonight, we're slowing things way down, like honey dripping from a comb, to focus on something so fundamental, so deeply rooted in the very soul of ancient Greece, that its rhythm can still soothe us thousands of years later. The gentle, methodical, and profoundly important process of gathering olives. Imagine the soft rustle of leaves, the warm Mediterranean sun on your skin, the earthy scent of the groves. It's a far cry from the hustle and bustle of your modern life, isn't it? And let me tell you, by the time we're done, you probably won't survive this epic journey through ancient agriculture. You'll be so chilled out. You'll be horizontal. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. It's always cool to see how far these sleepy stories travel. Here in Vietnam, it's early afternoon, but wherever you are, I hope you're ready to wind down. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing on a sun-drenched hillside, the air thick with the scent of thyme and wild herbs, under a vast, ancient sky. Before you, stretching as far as the eye can see, is a landscape dominated by the gnarled, silvery green forms of olive trees. These aren't just trees, they are living monuments, some of them whispering tales of centuries, even millennia. The olive tree, or Elia as the Greeks called it, wasn't merely a crop, it was a cornerstone of their civilization, deeply entwined with their myths, economy, and daily existence. You can almost feel the dry, warm air against your skin. Smell the distinct, slightly bitter aroma of the olives as they ripen on the branches. It's a scent that would have been utterly synonymous with life and livelihood for the ancient Greeks. Think back to the very beginning, to the mythical contest between Athena and Poseidon for patronage of Athens. Poseidon offered a saltwater spring, or perhaps a war horse, depending on the version of the story. But Athena, wise and practical, offered the olive tree, a gift of sustenance, light, healing, and peace. Her offering was chosen, and thus, the olive tree became sacred to the Athenians, a symbol of their very identity. This mainstream historical fact is more than just a charming story. It underscores the profound reverence the ancient Greeks held for this resilient tree. It wasn't just part of their life. It was a gift from the gods, sustaining them in countless ways, providing food, oil for lamps, medicine, and even wood for tools. It's like their version of a Swiss Army knife, but growing from the ground. You look closely at the bark of one of these trees. It's rugged, twisted, showing the passage of countless seasons. But beneath that venerable exterior, there's an incredible vitality. The leaves are a shimmering silver green on one side, a deeper green on the other, constantly dancing in the gentle breeze, catching the light in a way that seems almost magical. It's a subtle beauty, not flashy, but enduring, much like the culture that revered it. The roots of these trees delve deep into the rocky soil, anchoring them against the strong Mediterranean winds, a silent testament to their resilience. You can almost feel the faint vibrations of the earth, connecting you to the ancient past that cradled these very trees. Historians still argue whether the exact species of olive tree cultivated in ancient Greece was identical to the modern Olea europaea. While the fundamental tree is the same, selective breeding and regional variations over thousands of years mean the ancient varieties might have had slightly different characteristics in terms of fruit size, oil yield, and even resilience to pests. But what is undeniable is that the olive, in some form, has been cultivated in the Mediterranean for at least 6,000 years, a truly ancient partner in human civilization. Imagine something that's been doing its thing, producing fruit, for longer than recorded history as we know it. That's a serious resume. A quirky tidbit that might make you smile. Imagine trying to grow an olive tree in ancient times if you didn't know what you were doing. The Greeks had strict laws against cutting down olive trees, especially those sacred to Athena, punishable by exile or even death. So, if you were a clumsy farmer and accidentally chopped one down, well, let's just say your day would go from boring to very interesting. Very quickly. You'd probably want to run for the hills, or at least for another polis, before the local authorities, likely armed with some very serious glares and possibly a sharp stick, came looking for you. It was a serious business. This olive growing, and not just because it fed you, it was tied into their very legal and spiritual fabric. The significance of the olive tree wasn't just symbolic, it was deeply practical. Olive oil was the primary source of fat in their diet, used for cooking and preserving food. It was also their main source of light, fueling countless lamps that illuminated homes, temples, and workshops after sunset. Beyond that, it was a crucial component of their hygiene, used for cleaning the body, moisturizing the skin, and even as a base for perfumes and ointments. Athletes would anoint themselves with olive oil before competitions, both for physical preparation and as a ritual. This versatile liquid truly was a lifeblood of ancient Greek society, a multi-purpose essential that permeated every aspect of their existence. Without it, their daily lives would have looked, felt, and tasted entirely different. It was the ancient equivalent of electricity, cooking oil, and your entire skincare routine, all rolled into one. Talk about an all-in-one product as you stand there, observing the timeless groves. You can almost hear the soft hum of ancient insects, the distant bleating of goats, and the quiet murmurs of people who would have worked these very trees centuries ago. The air is still, the sun warm, and the olive trees, silent witnesses to history, stand ready to share their bounty. This landscape holds a profound sense of peace, a testament to the enduring connection between humans and the earth. You feel a gentle calm settling over you, a quiet anticipation for the slow, deliberate work that is about to begin. The olive harvest was a rhythm, a cycle, a deep breath taken by an entire civilization. As you stand in the olive grove, the sun slowly climbs higher, painting the ancient landscape in hues of gold and silver. This is the setting for the harvest, a place of quiet industry that has remained largely unchanged for centuries. You notice the terrain isn't always flat. Often, these groves cling to hillsides, their terraced levels built with painstaking effort to maximize the precious arable land. The soil underfoot is dry, reddish, and stony, a testament to the resilience of these trees, which thrive where other crops would falter. The air is still calm, perhaps with a very gentle breeze whispering through the leaves, creating a soft, rustling sound that will become the constant soundtrack of your days here. The spacing of the trees is deliberate, giving each one ample room to draw nutrients from the earth and spread its gnarled branches wide. They aren't planted in neat, modern rows you might see in a contemporary orchard. Instead, they appear to be scattered, following the contours of the land. Each tree an individual with its own unique silhouette. Some lean dramatically, their trunks twisted into sculptural forms, while others stand stout and upright. Guardians of the hillside, the light filters through the canopy, dappling the ground in shifting patterns of sun and shade, creating a peaceful, almost meditative atmosphere. You can almost feel the gentle warmth on your face as a ray of sunlight pierces through the leaves, a feeling that connects you directly to the ancient Greeks who worked these very same spots. Historians still argue whether the layout of ancient Greek olive groves was purely organic, dictated by terrain, or if there was a more sophisticated, though perhaps unrecorded, understandings of optimal spacing for yield. While modern agronomists might use precise measurements, the ancient Greeks likely relied on generations of practical observation and inherited wisdom passed down through families. It's not like they had agricultural textbooks or university extension courses. It was all about learning from the land and from your elders. This accumulated knowledge, refined over centuries, allowed them to cultivate these challenging landscapes effectively. A quirky tidbit. You might find interesting some particularly ancient olive trees in Greece are still producing fruit today, dating back thousands of years. Imagine picking olives from a tree that was already old when Plato was writing his philosophical treatises, or when the first Olympic Games were held. It's like stepping into a living museum, where the exhibits also provide delicious oil. You can almost feel the continuity, the unbroken chain of harvests stretching back through time, connecting you to the very same sounds and smells these ancient people experienced. The sheer longevity of these trees is a humbling thought, making you feel like a tiny speck in a vast historical tapestry surrounding the grove. You might see low stone walls, expertly dry stacked without mortar, marking boundaries or protecting against erosion from the occasional heavy rains. Wildflowers, hardy and vibrant. Cling to the edges, adding splashes of color to the otherwise muted greens and browns. The distant sound of a goat bell, or perhaps the faint call of a shepherd guiding his flock across a neighboring hill, occasionally breaks the silence. But mostly, it's just the natural world, breathing gently around you. There's a profound sense of rootedness here, a feeling that this land, these trees, and the people who tend them are in perfect harmony, working with nature, not against it. It's a subtle harmony, one you have to listen carefully to hear. But it's there, humming beneath the surface. The typical ancient Greek farm, or kleros, would often include an olive grove as its most valuable asset. Unlike annual crops that required replanting each year, olive trees were a long-term investment, providing a steady income and vital resources for generations. This long-term perspective influenced how the land was managed, fostering a deep respect for the trees themselves. You wouldn't just haphazardly prune. You'd prune with an understanding of the tree's life cycle, nurturing it for future yields, ensuring its health for your children and your grandchildren. It's like tending to a very old, very generous relative who provides all your cooking oil and moisturizer. Year after year, you treat them well because your very livelihood depends on them. And they are, in many ways, an extension of your family's legacy. The atmosphere in the grove is not one of hurried efficiency, but rather of measured anticipation. The olives aren't all ripe at once, and the harvest itself will be a process, not a single event, often stretching over several weeks. This means the grove retains a certain calm, a sense of patience. The air, though warm, carries a certain freshness, a dry, clean quality typical of the Mediterranean climate, sometimes even carrying the faint scent of pine from nearby forests. You can almost taste the faint dust on your tongue, mingling with the subtle aroma of the olive trees and the dry earth. It's an environment that encourages mindful presence, where every rustle of leaves, every ray of sunlight, every tiny olive bursting with potential is noticed and appreciated. It's a reminder to slow down, to observe, to be present. The sun continues its ascent, warming the earth, and you feel the anticipation in the air. The olive grove, with its ancient trees and timeless beauty, stands ready. It's a silent invitation to participate in a ritual as old as civilization itself. A gentle rhythm that promises sustenance and connection to the very heart of ancient Greek life. You notice the subtle nuances of the light changing, playing across the leaves, highlighting the faint purple blush on some of the ripening olives. It's a visual calm, a gentle hum that permeates the very air around you. A soft invitation to relax and embrace this slower pace. As the days begin to shorten and the autumn air takes on a crisp edge, the olive grove, which has been basking in the summer sun, starts to prepare for its moment of bounty. You can feel the subtle shift in the atmosphere, a quiet hum of seasonal rhythms that signals the approaching harvest. This isn't a sudden event, but a slow, gradual awakening. And the ancient Greeks knew exactly what cues to look for. You're watching the olives themselves, of course, but also the overall mood of the land, the subtle changes in light and temperature that mark the progression of the year. The air, which has been hot and dry all summer, now carries a hint of coolness, a welcome relief that makes working outdoors more comfortable. The leaves, once a vibrant, almost uniform green, now shimmer with more silvery undertones as the sun hits them, a beautiful, almost ethereal glow. The olives, which started as tiny green nubs back in spring, have swelled and deepened in color, transitioning from a bright green to a blush of purple, then to a rich, almost black hue. This color change is key, a visual signal that the oil within is maturing, reaching its peak flavor and yield. You might pick one, roll it between your fingers, feeling its plumpness and the slight give of its skin. This is the mainstream historical fact at play. The careful observation of fruit ripeness was crucial for determining the optimal harvest time, ensuring the best quality oil. It wasn't about rigid calendar dates, but about reading the signs nature provided, almost like a silent language spoken between the farmer and the tree. Historians still argue whether ancient Greek farmers picked olives at different stages of ripeness for different qualities of oil. Some scholars suggest that green olives, though yielding less oil, produced a more pungent, peppery flavor, often preferred for medicinal or sacrificial purposes. On the other hand, riper, darker olives gave a milder, sweeter oil, more suitable for culinary uses. It's likely they experimented, much like modern olive oil producers do, to achieve specific desired characteristics for various applications. This suggests a nuanced understanding of their crop, far beyond simple subsistence farming, indicating a sophisticated appreciation for the versatility of olive oil. Before the actual picking begins, there's a crucial period of preparation. You'd see families and laborers mending large collecting nets made of woven fibers, sharpening tools like long poles and combs, and readying the large storage amphorae, cleaning them thoroughly and sealing any cracks. The air would fill with the sounds of simple carpentry, the rustle of straw as baskets are woven or repaired, and the cheerful chatter of children helping with lighter tasks, their excitement palpable. It's a collective effort, a communal undertaking that strengthens bonds within the family and the wider community, a ritual of shared responsibility and anticipation. Imagine the scene: grandmothers showing younger hands how to patch a tear in a large collecting net with nimble fingers. Fathers teaching sons how to properly secure a ladder against the smooth bark of a gnarled tree, ensuring safety and efficiency. It's not just work. It's a transfer of knowledge, a continuation of tradition, a living lesson passed down through generations. A quirky tidbit that might make you chuckle. Imagine the ancient Greek version of a harvest festival before the actual harvest. Sometimes, small offerings would be made to the gods, especially Athena, for a bountiful and safe yield. You might see a farmer pouring a libation of last year's oil at the base of a particularly old and revered olive tree, its roots deep in the earth, or hanging a small clay charm from a prominent branch, hoping for divine favor. It's their way of saying, "Hey, thanks in advance for the liquid gold. Please keep the pests away and the weather just right." A little bit of superstition, a lot of hope, and a deep-seated respect for the forces of nature. It was all part of the rhythm, a way of acknowledging their dependence on the natural world. The anticipation builds in the air. The trees stand heavy with fruit, patiently waiting for the hands that will release their bounty. You can feel the calm before the storm of activity, a sense of shared purpose growing among the people. The sun, now lower in the sky, casts long, golden shadows, painting the grove in a soft, warm light that feels ancient and comforting. The scent of the ripening olives, a subtle, earthy sweetness with a hint of bitterness, becomes more pronounced as the day warms. It's a sensory experience that grounds you firmly in this moment, in this ancient land, connecting you to the unbroken chain of human endeavor stretching back through time. This preparatory period wasn't just about physical readiness. It was about mental and spiritual readiness too. The rhythm of the seasons dictated their lives, and the olive harvest was one of the most significant moments in that annual cycle. It was a time for gratitude, for community, and for looking forward to the sustenance that these resilient trees would provide once again. You notice a slight shift in the breeze, perhaps a cool gust hinting at the change in weather that will soon arrive, signaling the perfect conditions for the harvest to truly begin. The air is still, but it hums with unspoken promises of hard work and rich rewards. A promise that has been fulfilled for millennia. With the preparations complete and the air humming with anticipation, the time finally arrives for the gathering of the green gold. You stand amidst the trees as the first rays of dawn pierce through the eastern sky, casting long shadows across the dew-kissed ground. The harvest begins early, often at first light, to take advantage of the cooler morning temperatures, which are more comfortable for the laborers and help preserve the quality of the olives. This is where the ancient methods, refined over countless generations, truly come into play, emphasizing patience and a deep respect for the trees and their precious bounty. The primary method you'd observe, a mainstream historical fact, is handpicking, or chiromazin. This is the slowest, most meticulous, and ultimately, the highest quality method. Imagine yourself moving from tree to tree, your hands carefully plucking each individual olive from its branch. Some olives might come away easily with a gentle tug, their tiny stems snapping cleanly, while others cling stubbornly, requiring a bit more persuasion, a gentle twist to release them. You'd feel the smooth, firm skin of the green olives, still quite hard, hinting at their pungent oil, and the slightly softer give of the darker, riper ones, which promise a milder, fruitier taste. This method, though labor-intensive, ensured the olives were undamaged, preventing bruising and oxidation, which would degrade the quality of the oil before it even reached the press. It's like selecting only the perfect berries for a gourmet dessert. A true artisan's approach to agriculture, focusing on careful preservation of quality. Historians still argue whether hand-picking was the only method used for the highest quality oil, or if other methods were also employed, with sorting happening later. While evidence suggests hand-picking was indeed preferred for premium oil, used for anointing, medicine, or the finest culinary uses, the sheer scale of some ancient olive oil production implies a blend of techniques. It's likely they adapted their approach based on the desired quality of the oil and the size of the harvest. For olives destined for everyday use, or when time was pressing, a less gentle method might have been employed. But for the prized first press oil, gentleness was key. This nuanced approach shows a surprising sophistication in their agricultural practices for olives on higher branches, or to speed up the process for larger yields. The Greeks would employ long poles. You'd see skilled harvesters using these poles, perhaps with a hooked or forked end, to gently knock or dislodge the olives from the branches. This wasn't a violent thrashing that would damage the tree or scatter the fruit. The goal was to avoid damaging the branches or bruising the fruit unnecessarily. It was a rhythmic action, a steady tap, 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 as clusters of olives rained down onto the waiting nets spread beneath the trees. It required precision and a certain grace, a delicate dance between the pole and the branch, a knack that was developed over years of practice. Imagine trying to gently tap tiny fruit off a tree with a really long stick, a lot harder than it sounds. And you definitely don't want to be the one who breaks a branch or, even worse, bonks a fellow harvester on the head with an errant olive, or worse, the pole itself. That would put a real damper on the communal spirit and might earn you a few dirty looks. Speaking of those nets, they're a crucial quirky tidbit of the harvest. Before any picking began, large, often tightly woven nets made of tough, durable fibers like esparto grass, linen, or even sometimes animal hair, were carefully spread out on the ground beneath each tree. These nets acted as a clean, soft landing pad for the falling olives, keeping them separate from the soil, leaves, and any small stones or debris that might contaminate the fruit. This simple innovation was vital for maintaining the cleanliness and purity of the olives, a key factor in producing high-quality oil. It's like laying out a giant, specialized picnic blanket. But instead of sandwiches, you're catching thousands upon thousands of tiny, valuable spheres. You can almost hear the soft, almost imperceptible thud as an olive hits the taut net. A satisfying sound that signals success and brings you one step closer to the precious liquid gold. The nets also made collection much more efficient, as the olives could simply be gathered by pulling the corners of the net together, rather than picking them one by one from the ground. The sun continues to rise, and the air gradually warms, but the work remains steady and deliberate. The sound of hands gently plucking, poles tapping, and olives falling onto nets fills the grove. There's a certain quiet camaraderie among the workers, a shared focus on the task at hand. Conversations are low, often broken by periods of focused silence, as each person concentrates on their portion of the tree. You might hear a snatch of an old folk song, sung softly by one of the harvesters. It's simple, repetitive melody blending with the natural sounds of the grove, the chirping of cicadas, the distant bleating of sheep, the gentle rustle of leaves. The process is labor-intensive, no doubt, demanding physical endurance and meticulous attention. But it carries a meditative quality, a timeless rhythm that connects you to every olive harvester who has worked these lands before you. It's repetitive, yes, but in its repetition, there's a soothing predictability, a quiet flow that can lull you into a state of contented focus. The scent of olives, both ripe and newly separated from the branch, becomes more pervasive as the day progresses, mingling with the earthy smell of the dry soil warmed by the sun. You notice the subtle differences in the olives themselves. Some are plump and dark, almost black, indicating a full, rich oil, while others are still a lighter, vibrant green, promising a more pungent, almost spicy note. Each olive, no matter its size or color, holds the promise of future sustenance, light for the long nights, and a valuable commodity for trade. The sheer volume of olives required to produce even a small amount of oil makes you appreciate the immense scale of this effort, transforming a seemingly simple fruit into a cornerstone of an entire civilization. It's a testament to patience, hard work, and the enduring power of the olive tree, and the quiet dedication of the people who worked with it. With the olives now gently harvested and collected on the nets, the next stage of the ancient Greek olive harvest truly emphasizes the collective effort and the rhythm of labor that defined life in the groves. You can see the shift from individual plucking to a more coordinated, communal task. The large nets, heavy with their shimmering green and black bounty, are now carefully gathered at the corners, forming giant sacks of olives. This isn't a one-person job. It requires strong hands and synchronized movements. You watch as several people, perhaps family members, work as together, or a small group of neighbors and their slaves, lift and carry these heavy loads. The olives are then gently transferred from the nets into woven baskets or wooden crates. The sound of the olives cascading into these containers is a soft, dry rustle, a promise of the rich oil to come. These baskets, perhaps made of wicker or woven reeds, are designed to be sturdy yet light enough to be carried by individuals, often on their backs or heads, to a central collection point within the grove or nearby farmstead. This daily procession, laden with the day's pickings, is a mainstream historical fact that highlights the manual, labor-intensive nature of ancient agriculture. There were no motorized vehicles or large conveyor belts here, just human strength and ingenuity. Historians still argue whether the use of slave labor in olive harvesting significantly impacted the overall quality of the oil compared to family-run operations, while larger estates certainly relied heavily on slaves. It's believed that a skilled, motivated workforce, whether free or enslaved, was crucial for producing high-quality oil due to the delicate nature of the fruit. This suggests that even with coerced labor, a degree of care and training was still necessary. The collective effort extends beyond just picking and carrying. You'd also see individuals meticulously sorting the olives. This quirky tidbit is often overlooked but was vital for quality control. Bruised or damaged olives would be set aside, perhaps for a lower-grade oil or for direct consumption, while the perfectly intact fruit was kept separate for the premium press. This careful sorting prevented spoilage and ensured the purity of the valuable oil. Imagine trying to sort thousands of tiny olives by hand, under the warm sun, hour after hour. It's a task that requires patience, attention to detail, and frankly, a good back. It really makes you appreciate just how much effort went into every drop of olive oil. No wonder it was considered so precious. The rhythm of the work is steady and unhurried, dictated by the sun's journey across the sky and the natural pace of human endurance. There's a shared understanding, a silent communication among the workers. You see the older, more experienced hands guiding the younger ones, teaching them the subtle nuances of handling the olives, the best way to carry a heavy basket without bruising the fruit, the rhythm of the work that maximizes efficiency without sacrificing quality. This intergenerational transfer of knowledge was essential in a society where agricultural practices were passed down verbally. The air in the grove continues to be filled with the earthy scent of olives, now perhaps mixed with the fainter aroma of human effort. A little sweat, a little dust. The sounds are a gentle symphony of activity, the rustle of olives, the soft thud of baskets being set down, the quiet murmurs of conversation, the distant chirping of cicadas. It's a peaceful, productive hum, a contrast to the frantic pace of modern life. You realize that for these ancient Greeks, this was more than just a job. It was a seasonal ritual, a fundamental part of their existence that brought families and communities together. As the sun reaches its zenith, the heat becomes more intense, and the work might slow slightly. This is when the communal aspect often shines brightest. Workers might pause, sharing water from a communal skin, wiping sweat from their brows, and exchanging a few words before resuming their tasks. The shared labor fostered a strong sense of community and interdependence. Everyone understood that the success of the harvest benefited all, from the landowner to the humblest slave. It's a powerful reminder of how vital cooperation was in the ancient world. By late afternoon, as the shadows begin to lengthen, the olives gathered throughout the day are taken to the pressing area. This might be a simple, designated spot within the grove, or a more elaborate facility on the farmstead, depending on the scale of the operation. The sheer volume of olives collected is impressive, a visual representation of the combined effort. You see mounds of fresh olives gleaming in the afternoon light, ready for their transformation into the liquid gold that will sustain the household through the coming year. The day's labor, though tiring, brings with it a deep sense of satisfaction and accomplishment, a tangible reward for the steady, rhythmic work under the ancient Greek sun. As the sun climbs higher and the work in the olive grove continues its steady rhythm, a natural break arrives: the midday meal. This isn't a quick bite at a fast food counter. This is lunch in the leaves, a moment of communal sustenance and much-needed respite, enjoyed right there amidst the ancient trees. You feel the warmth of the sun on your back as you find a comfortable spot under the broad canopy of an olive tree, its dappled shade offering a cool embrace. The rustle of leaves and the gentle hum of cicadas provide the perfect background music to this simple, yet vital, ritual. Imagine the scene: the workers, whether family members or hired hands, gather together. There's no fancy table, no elaborate settings. Instead, a large cloth might be spread on the relatively clear ground, or perhaps they simply sit on overturned baskets or convenient rocks. This is a mainstream historical fact. Meals during agricultural labor were often simple, practical, and eaten on site, fostering a sense of camaraderie and efficiency. Everyone would bring something, or a communal meal would be prepared by one of the women, adding to the shared effort of the day. The food itself is wholesome and unpretentious, designed to provide energy for the demanding work. Think crusty barley bread, perhaps dipped in a small bowl of last year's fresh olive oil, a taste of the very product they are working so hard to produce. There might be olives themselves, perhaps some preserved in brine, offering a salty tang. Fresh cheese made from sheep's or goat's milk, hard and flavorful, would be a common addition, alongside dried figs or grapes for a touch of sweetness. And of course, cool water, carried in clay jugs or animal skins, is passed around, a precious commodity in the dry Mediterranean heat. It's a diet built on simplicity, nourishment, and the bounty of the local land. No fancy salads or elaborate multi-course meals here, just honest, satisfying sustenance. Historians still argue whether the precise caloric intake and nutritional balance of the ancient Greek diet were truly optimal for sustained heavy labor. While clearly sufficient, modern understanding of nutrition might suggest variations. However, what is clear is that their diet, heavily reliant on staples like grain, olives, and wine, along with legumes, fish, and some meat, provided the necessary fuel for their active lives. A quirky tidbit that adds a touch of ancient charm sometimes: a small amount of wine, diluted with water, would be part of the midday meal. This wasn't for intoxication, but for hydration and a mild pick-me-up. Imagine a communal cup being passed around, a moment of shared refreshment, the faint aroma of wine mingling with the earthy smells of the grove. It's like their ancient version of a midday coffee break, but with a slightly different kind of beverage. You might even hear a light-hearted joke or a shared story. A moment of laughter breaking the steady rhythm of work. These meal breaks weren't just about eating. They were crucial for recharging both body and spirit. It was a time to rest tired muscles, stretch cramped limbs, and temporarily forget the repetitive nature of the harvest. Conversations would turn from the olives to family news, local gossip, or perhaps even simple riddles to entertain the younger ones. It was a chance for social connection, reinforcing the bonds among the laborers. Whether they were free citizens working their own land or enslaved individuals toiling alongside their masters. The shared meal served as a powerful reminder of their collective humanity and interdependence. As you sit there, observe-ish, you notice the subtle sounds of the grove. During this quiet period, the buzzing of a bee among the wildflowers, the distant call of a bird, the gentle rustle of leaves as a light breeze passes through. The sun is at its highest, but the shade of the olive trees provides a comfortable retreat from its intensity. You feel a sense of calm wash over you, a profound connection to this ancient rhythm of life and labor. The simplicity of the moment, the grounding experience of eating fresh, unadulterated food in the heart of nature, is deeply soothing. After the meal, there might be a short period of rest, a brief siesta to avoid the harshest midday sun. Workers might stretch out on the nets, using them as makeshift hammocks, or lean against the sturdy trunks of the olive trees. The grove falls into an even deeper silence, a peaceful pause before the work resumes. This understanding of pacing, of integrating rest into intense labor, was vital for sustainability, both for the workers and for the ongoing productivity of the harvest. It's a reminder that even in ancient times, they understood the importance of breaks to avoid burnout. Perhaps a lesson we could all take from them in our hyper-connected world. As the shadows begin to lengthen again, and the heat starts to wane slightly, the call to resume work ripples through the grove. Refreshed and re-energized, the harvesters rise, ready to continue their steady rhythm of gathering. The lunch break, though brief, has served its purpose, allowing them to reconnect with each other and with the quiet strength of the olive trees before diving back into the day's tasks. The scent of olives, mixed with the lingering aroma of fresh bread and cheese, now fills the air. A gentle invitation to continue the peaceful work of the harvest. With the last olives gathered from the branches and deposited into baskets, the focus shifts from the trees themselves to the arduous, yet immensely satisfying, process of transforming them into the liquid gold that defined ancient Greek life. This is where the true magic happens, pressing the liquid light. You follow the collected olives from the grove to the designated pressing area, which might be a simple, shaded spot on the farm, or a more permanent structure housing the heavy machinery of the olive press. The air here, no longer just smelling of fresh olives on the branch, now carries a more pungent, earthy aroma, the scent of crushed fruit, hinting at the oil within. The first step, a mainstream historical fact, often involved crushing the olives. This wasn't a gentle process. It was about breaking down the olive's flesh and pit to release the oil. Imagine large, heavy millstones, sometimes powered by animals like donkeys or mules, slowly grinding the olives into a coarse paste. You'd hear the rhythmic creak of the turning mechanism, the dull scrape of stone against stone, and the soft squelch of olives being macerated. For smaller operations, this might have been done by human power, perhaps with a large pestle in a mortar, or even by simply trampling the olives underfoot in a clean, designated area. The goal was to create a uniform pulp, ready for the next stage. Historians still argue whether the presence of the olive pit in the crushed paste significantly affected the flavor and acidity of the final oil. Some scholars suggest that crushing the pits released tannins or other compounds that could impact taste, while others believe the heat generated by crushing the entire fruit was more impactful on quality. Regardless, the common practice was to crush the whole olive, pit and all, into a paste. Once the olive paste was ready, it was time for the actual pressing. This was typically done using a large, robust lever press, a truly ingenious piece of ancient engineering. Imagine a massive wooden beam, often many meters long, anchored at one end to a sturdy wall or rock formation. The other end of the beam would rest on a pile of woven mats, or frails, stacked one on top of the other, each containing a layer of the olive paste. Heavy stones or lead weights would be gradually applied to the free end of the lever, slowly increasing the pressure. You'd hear the groaning of the wooden beam as it strained under the weight. The slow, steady drip of liquid beginning to emerge from the bottom of the stack. This initial liquid, as it began to flow, was the most prized. It was the first pressing, the highest quality, most pure oil, extracted with minimal heat and pressure. This is a quirky tidbit. You might not know ancient Greeks often differentiated between grades of olive oil, and the first pressing was considered the best, often reserved for sacred rituals, medicinal purposes, or for the most discerning culinary uses. It would have had a vibrant green color, a rich, fresh aroma, and a slightly peppery taste, a true delight for the senses. It's like getting the first, purest squeeze from a fresh fruit. You know it's going to be good. As the oil slowly separated from the paste, it would trickle into a collection basin, often made of stone, at the base of the press. Here, a fascinating natural process would occur. The oil, being lighter than the water and sediment also extracted from the olives, would naturally rise to the surface. Workers would then carefully skim off this precious layer of golden green oil, using simple ladles or sponges, transferring it into clean vessels. This careful separation was crucial, as any residual water or olive solids would degrade the oil's quality and shelf life. The pressing process was often done slowly, in stages, allowing the paste to rest between pressings. This allowed more oil to be released, though subsequent pressings would yield oil of slightly lower quality. You'd smell the rich, fruity aroma intensifying as more and more oil was extracted, mingling with the earthy notes of the olive paste. The atmosphere, though still focused on labor, now held a palpable sense of accomplishment, as the fruits of their hard work literally flowed before their eyes. It's the ultimate payoff, transforming dull, solid fruit into shimmering, valuable liquid. The light in the pressing area might be dim, perhaps illuminated by a few oil lamps even during the day, their soft glow reflecting in the pools of freshly collected oil. The constant, soft sound of dripping oil, the creak of the press, and the quiet murmurs of the workers would create a soothing, almost hypnotic soundtrack. It's a powerful connection to the ancient world, witnessing a process that sustained civilizations for millennia, transforming a simple crop into a cornerstone of their existence. You can almost feel the smooth, oily texture on your fingertips, imagining the vibrant taste of that first press oil. It's a quiet miracle of nature and human ingenuity, unfolding patiently before you. With the precious olive oil now extracted, glistening with its fresh, green hue, the next critical phase begins amphorae and abundance, the intricate process of storing this liquid gold. You watch as the workers, their movements careful and deliberate, begin to transfer the newly pressed oil into its designated containers. This wasn't a simple matter of pouring it into any old pot. The ancient Greeks understood that proper storage was paramount to preserving the oil's quality, flavor, and longevity. The primary vessel for storing and transporting olive oil was the amphora. These iconic clay jars are a mainstream historical fact, instantly recognizable with their two handles and often elongated, pointed bottoms. You'd see them everywhere in ancient Greece, but particularly in pressing areas and storerooms. Imagine lines of these amphorae, standing tall and proud, their surfaces varying in texture and color depending on the clay and the potter. Some might be plain and utilitarian, while others could bear simple decorative bands or the stamp of their maker, indicating origin or quality. Historians still argue whether the specific shape of an amphora, particularly its pointed base, was primarily for ease of stacking in ship's holds or for settling sediment. While both theories have merit, it's clear that the design was highly efficient for mass storage and transportation, allowing maximum capacity with minimal wasted space. It's like their version of standardized shipping containers, only much more aesthetically pleasing and made of clay, not steel. The process of filling these amphorae was done with meticulous care. The oil, fresh from the press, would first be left to settle in large, open vats for a period. This allowed any remaining water or sediment to separate and sink to the bottom, ensuring only the pure, clear oil was decanted. You'd see workers carefully ladling the golden green liquid from the surface of these settling vats into the narrow necks of the amphorae, perhaps using funnels made of wood or clay to prevent spillage. Every drop was valuable, and waste was simply not an option. A quirky tidbit that adds a layer to this process: some amphorae would be lined internally with a thin layer of pitch or resin to further seal the porous clay and prevent the oil from seeping out or acquiring an undesirable earthy taste. This protective coating, while adding an extra step to production, demonstrated their sophisticated understanding of food preservation and material science. Imagine all that effort just to make sure your olive oil tasted perfect. It's the ancient equivalent of vacuum sealing your food for freshness. Once filled, the amphorae would be sealed. This was a crucial step for preventing oxidation and contamination. You'd observe workers applying clay stoppers, often molded to fit the amphora's mouth precisely, which would then be carefully sealed with resin, pitch, or even a thick layer of wax. Sometimes, the seal might bear the impression of a seal ring, indicating ownership or quality, acting as a primitive form of branding. The air within the amphora was minimized to slow down spoilage, ensuring the oil remained fresh for months, even years. The storeroom itself would be a cool, dark place, away from direct sunlight and extreme temperature fluctuations. You step into its quiet confines and feel the cooler air on your skin, a welcome contrast to the sun-baked grove. Rows upon rows of filled amphorae would stand upright, or sometimes horizontally, supported by wooden racks or simply leaning against walls. The faint, rich aroma of olive oil would permeate the air, a constant reminder of the season's bounty and the wealth stored within these clay vessels. It's like walking into an ancient pantry, but instead of pickles and jams, it's packed with liquid gold. This abundance of stored oil was not just for immediate consumption. It was a form of wealth, a commodity for trade, and a buffer against lean times. A successful olive harvest meant security for the family and the community, providing a vital resource that could be exchanged for grain, tools, or other necessities. It underscored the importance of the olive tree, not just as a food source, but as an economic engine for ancient Greek society. You see the pride in the eyes of the farmer as he surveys his filled storeroom, a quiet satisfaction that speaks volumes about the year's hard work bearing fruit. The methodical placement of each amphora, the careful stacking, the sense of order in the cool, dark space, all contribute to a feeling of enduring calm. The clinking of clay as amphorae are moved, the soft scraping sound as a new one is nudged into place. These are the subtle noises that fill the air. It's a testament to the foresight and planning of the ancient Greeks, ensuring that the precious yield from their groves would last through the seasons, sustaining their families, lighting their homes, and lubricating their lives until the next gentle rhythm of the harvest called them back to the trees once more. The quiet, cool atmosphere of the storeroom offers a moment of reflective peace, a sense of security derived from nature's generous gifts and human diligence. With the olive oil safely stored, a gleaming testament to the season's hard work, you begin to understand just how deeply integrated this liquid gold was into every facet of ancient Greek life. It wasn't just something they ate. It was truly oil for every need, permeating their daily routines in ways that might surprise you. You walk through a typical ancient Greek home, no longer just a farmer's dwelling, but perhaps a bustling urban household, and see the countless ways olive oil was used, from dawn till dusk. First and foremost, of course, was its role in culinary uses. A mainstream historical fact. Olive oil was the primary cooking fat, used in almost every dish. Imagine the smells wafting from an ancient Greek kitchen: vegetables sautéed in oil, fish drizzled generously before roasting over an open fire, stews enriched with its distinctive flavor. It wasn't just a cooking medium, it was often a condiment, a finishing touch to enhance the taste of bread, cheese, and legumes. You'd see it served alongside meals in small, elegant cruets, ready for dipping. It's the ancient equivalent of butter, margarine, and every cooking spray combined, but with far more cultural significance. Historians still argue whether the Greeks preferred different grades of oil for different culinary purposes, similar to how modern chefs use various types of olive oil today. While specific distinctions might not have been as formalized as extra virgin or light oil, it's highly probable that oil from the first press was reserved for high-status meals or special occasions, while a coarser, perhaps more pungent oil was used for everyday cooking or for slave rations. Beyond the kitchen, olive oil played a vital role in lighting. As night falls over your imagined ancient Greek town, you see countless small oil lamps flickering in homes, workshops, and temples. These lamps, often simple clay vessels with a wick soaking in oil, provided the main source of artificial light after sunset. Imagine the soft, warm glow they cast, chasing away the darkness and allowing activities to continue long after the sun had dipped below the horizon. The quiet sputter of the wick, the faint, comforting smell of burning olive oil. It was the backdrop to every evening, from philosophical discussions to quiet family gatherings. It's like their version of the electric grid, but biodegradable and much, much slower to turn on. Then there's the realm of personal hygiene and cosmetics, a truly fascinating and sometimes quirky tidbit. The ancient Greeks didn't use soap as we know it. Instead, they relied heavily on olive oil for cleaning and moisturizing their bodies. Imagine a visit to the public baths after a good sweat in the hot room. You'd apply olive oil to your skin, then use a strigil. Remember that curved metal scraper from the emperor's bath. It pops up again to scrape off the oil, along with dirt, sweat, and dead skin. This left the skin clean, supple, and moisturized. It was a rigorous, yet effective, beauty ritual. You can almost feel the smooth, oiled skin, a sensation of ancient self-care. It's certainly a more involved process than your quick shower and lotion routine today, but it was incredibly effective for their climate and needs. Beyond basic cleansing, olive oil was a base for countless ointments, perfumes, and medicinal preparations. You'd see women anointing their skin with scented oils, perhaps infused with roses, myrrh, or frankincense, turning hygiene into an act of luxury and personal adornment. Athletes would rub their bodies with oil before training and competition, not just for cleanliness, but also to make their muscles supple and to protect their skin from the elements. It's a versatile material, capable of absorbing and carrying other fragrant or therapeutic compounds. Furthermore, olive oil was essential in religious ceremonies and rituals. It was used for anointing statues of gods, lighting sacred lamps in temples, and poured as libations during prayers and sacrifices. The act of offering olive oil was a deeply symbolic gesture, representing purity, prosperity, and a connection to the divine. You can imagine the quiet solemnity as a priest pours a stream of golden oil onto an altar, its rich scent rising with the prayers. Even in medicine, olive oil was a staple. Ancient physicians would use it as a base for salves and poultices, believing in its healing and soothing properties. It was used to treat wounds, soothe skin ailments, and even ingested for internal ailments. It was their go-to panacea, a natural remedy for a wide range of afflictions. It's a reminder of how intertwined their understanding of nature was with their health practices. The sheer omnipresence of olive oil in ancient Greek life, from the lowliest kitchen to the grandest temple, speaks to its fundamental importance. It was more than just a commodity. It was woven into the very fabric of their culture, a symbol of their land's bounty and their ingenuity. As you ponder these varied uses, you feel a deep appreciation for this humble fruit and the precious liquid it yielded. It's a testament to how an ancient civilization, with seemingly simple resources, could craft a rich and full life. The quiet hum of the olive grove, the soft light of an oil lamp, the earthy scent of the oil itself, these sensory details come together, painting a vivid picture of a world sustained by this liquid light. Beyond its practical applications in daily life, olive oil, and the olive tree itself, held profound significance in the sacred and secular rituals of ancient Greece. You transition from the bustling household to the quiet sanctity of a temple, or the public grandeur of a festival, and observe how deeply entwined the olive was with their spiritual beliefs and civic life. It was more than just a plant. It was a divine gift, a symbol of peace, victory, and divine favor. One of the most mainstream historical facts is the olive tree's central role in the Panathenaic festival, a grand religious festival held every 4 years in Athens in honor of the goddess Athena. The ultimate prize for the winners in athletic and artistic contests at this festival was not a laurel wreath, but a Panathenaic amphora filled with sacred olive oil from the groves dedicated to Athena on the Athenian plain. Imagine the prestige of winning such a prize, not just a trophy, but a tangible piece of the divine, a symbol of Athena's blessing. This oil was so revered that its export was usually forbidden, a testament to its special status. It was like winning the gold medal at the Olympics. But the medal was actually a bottle of magic elixir. Historians still argue whether the oil from the sacred groves of Athena possessed genuinely unique properties, or if its value was primarily symbolic and political. reinforcing Athens' status. While no scientific magic has been found, the consistent quality of the oil and its deep cultural significance certainly made it uniquely valuable. In religious ceremonies, olive oil was frequently used for anointing. You might witness a priest carefully anointing a statue of a god or goddess, perhaps Apollo or Athena herself, with fragrant olive oil. The act of anointing was believed to impart purity, sanctity, and a divine blessing. The oil would soak into the porous stone or wood, leaving a subtle sheen and a faint, sweet aroma. This ritual connected the physical world with the spiritual, transforming a simple liquid into a conduit for divine grace. It's like their ancient version of holy water, but much more oily and probably smelled better. Beyond anointing statues, olive oil was poured as libations during prayers and sacrifices. Imagine standing before an altar, the smoke of offerings rising, and watching a worshiper pour a stream of pure olive oil onto the flames or directly onto the ground. This act was a form of offering to the gods, a gesture of respect and supplication, seeking their favor or giving thanks for a bountiful harvest. The shimmering liquid, representing life and prosperity, was deemed a fitting tribute to the Olympians. The silence, broken only by the soft sizzle of oil on hot stone, would be profound. A quirky tidbit that demonstrates the olive's pervasive sacred nature even after death. Olive oil played a role. It was often used in funerary rituals, for anointing the bodies of the deceased before burial. This was not just for practical purposes, but also to purify and honor the dead, preparing them for their journey to the afterlife. Small vessels of olive oil might even be placed in tombs as offerings to the chthonic deities or for use by the deceased in the underworld. Imagine your final send-off involving a luxurious olive oil rub. It sounds a bit strange to us, but it was a mark of respect and care. In the secular sphere, olive oil was deeply embedded in civic life and public celebrations. Beyond the Panathenaic games, olive wreaths, made from the branches of the sacred olive tree, were awarded to victors at the Olympic Games. This simple wreath was the highest honor an athlete could achieve, symbolizing peace, glory, and excellence. You can visualize the proud winners, their bodies glistening with oil from the athlete's routine, their heads crowned with the humble, yet incredibly meaningful, olive leaves. It was a tangible connection to the legendary origin of the games and a mark of lasting fame. The olive tree itself was often planted in public spaces, in agorae and gymnasia, serving as a constant visual reminder of its importance. Laws protected these trees, especially in Athens, reinforcing their sacred status and economic value. Cutting down a wild olive tree carried a hefty fine, but felling a sacred one could result in exile or even death, as mentioned before. This legislative protection highlights the deep respect and dependence the Greeks had on this single species. Even in legal and political discourse, the olive found its place. Treaties and agreements might be sealed with rituals involving olive branches, symbolizing peace and accord. The very symbol of the olive branch, recognized worldwide today as a sign of peace, has its roots firmly planted in ancient Greek traditions. As you consider these interwoven aspects of sacred and secular life, you realize that the olive was far more than a crop. It was a living, breathing symbol of Greek identity, linking them to their gods, their ancestors, their economy, and their values. The gentle rustle of its leaves, the rich scent of its oil. These were not just sensory experiences, but constant reminders of a profound spiritual and cultural connection. The olive harvest, then, was not just about bringing in food. It was about reaffirming their place in the cosmos, a timeless dance between man, nature, and the divine. You feel a quiet sense of the sacred permeating the air. A gentle reminder that even the most mundane parts of ancient life were imbued with deeper meaning. With the olive oil flowing and its multifaceted uses firmly established in your mind, you now turn your attention to the silent partners in this ancient industry, the tools and vessels, the very embodiments of the artisan's touch. These weren't mass-produced implements. They were often crafted with skill and care, each one a testament to the ingenuity and practical artistry of the ancient Greeks. You envision a small workshop, perhaps near the grove or within a village, filled with the scents of wood, clay, and the faint, lingering aroma of olive oil. Consider, first, the tools for harvesting. While simple poles and hands were the primary instruments, these seemingly basic tools were refined over generations. The harvesting poles, or rabdoi, wouldn't just be any stick. They'd be carefully selected for their length, flexibility, and strength. Imagine a craftsman smoothing the wood, ensuring it was free of splinters, perhaps even adding a leather grip or a specialized tip to better dislodge the olives without damaging the branches. This focus on utility and durability was a mainstream historical fact, as tools were valuable assets, often passed down through families. Historians still argue whether specific tool designs were standardized across different regions of Greece, or if local variations and innovations were more common. It's likely there was a blend, with core designs being widely adopted, but with regional artisans adding their own improvements. This suggests a dynamic environment of practical invention. Then there were the combs, small handheld implements with teeth, used to gently strip olives from the branches directly into baskets or nets. These might have been made of wood, bone, or even metal, depending on the period and the artisan. You can almost feel the smooth handle in your hand, the gentle rake of the teeth through the leaves, dislodging the fruit with minimal effort. This was a quirky tidbit of specialized harvesting, a small, seemingly simple tool, but vital for efficiency and reducing damage to the olives, especially for smaller branches. It's like their ancient version of a fruit picker, but much more intimate and precise. Next, you contemplate the baskets and containers used for collecting the olives. These were often woven from reeds, wicker, or other pliable natural materials. Imagine the skilled hands of a basket weaver, patiently interlacing strands, creating sturdy yet lightweight vessels that could withstand the rigors of the harvest. The varying sizes, from small handheld baskets for pickers to larger, sturdier ones for transport, demonstrate a thoughtful approach to logistics. The soft rustle and creak of these woven containers as they're filled and moved would have been constant sounds during the harvest. As you move from the field to the pressing area, the focus shifts to the tools of transformation. The millstones for crushing olives, whether large rotary mills or simpler presses, required considerable craftsmanship. Imagine a stonemason carefully shaping the massive blocks of local rock, ensuring a smooth, consistent grinding surface that would efficiently turn olives into paste. The very act of carving these immense stones was an art form in itself, requiring strength, precision, and an understanding of the stone's properties. The lever presses, monumental structures of wood and stone, were engineering marvels. Imagine the carpenters and joiners, skilled in working with massive timbers, meticulously fitting beams and uprights, creating a structure that could withstand immense pressure without breaking. The craftsmanship here was about ensuring structural integrity, allowing the oil to be extracted efficiently and safely. The surfaces of the wooden parts would be smooth from countless seasons of use, perhaps darkened by absorbed oil, giving them a rich patina, and then the most iconic vessel of all the amphora. These weren't just containers. They were works of pottery art and crucial elements of ancient trade. You picture the potter's wheel, spinning rhythmically, as clay is coaxed into the elegant, elongated form of an amphora. Each curve, each handle, is shaped by hand, imbued with the artisan's skill. The specific clay, firing temperature, and glazes or lack thereof would determine the porosity and durability of the finished product. The narrow neck, designed for easy pouring and sealing, and the pointed base, for stable storage, reflect a deep understanding of function and form. Imagine the potter, his hands covered in clay, working tirelessly to meet the demand for these essential vessels. Each amphora, whether plain or decorated, represents hours of skilled labor, transforming humble earth into a functional, beautiful object. The quiet whir of the potter's wheel, the soft thud of clay being centered, the gentle scrape of a shaping tool. These sounds would fill the air of the pottery workshop, a rhythmic backdrop to the creation of these vital containers. It's a reminder that every part of the olive oil process, from the field to the pantry, relied on specialized crafts. This deep connection between agriculture and artisanry is a unique aspect of ancient Greek life. The tools weren't disposable. They were cherished, maintained, and often created by specialized craftsmen who understood the specific needs of the olive industry. This wasn't just about making things. It was about imbuing objects with purpose and durability. ensuring they served their vital role in sustaining a civilization built upon the bounty of the olive. You feel a quiet appreciation for the hands that shaped these tools, the minds that conceived their design, and the continuity of skill passed down through generations. It's a testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity, creating beauty and utility from the simplest materials. As the last of the olives have been pressed and the fresh oil safely stored in its amphorae, a different kind of peace descends upon the ancient Greek countryside. The frantic, yet rhythmic, energy of the harvest gives way to winter's reprieve, a quiet period of rest and reflection before the next cycle of growth begins. You notice the air growing cooler still, carrying a crispness that hints at the coming cold. A gentle reminder that even the Mediterranean sun eventually wanes. The olive groves, once bustling with activity, now stand in a profound stillness, their gnarled branches silhouetted against a softer, often cloudier sky. This is a mainstream historical fact. The agricultural year in ancient Greece was cyclical, and winter was generally a time of reduced outdoor labor for many crops. While there was still work to be done, it lacked the intense, communal urgency of the harvest. Farmers might focus on repairing tools, mending structures, or engaging in indoor crafts. It was a quieter time, a chance for the land and the people to truly rest and recuperate. You might see wisps of smoke rising from hearths as families gather indoors, seeking warmth and comfort, a contrast to the long days spent under the open sky. Historians still argue whether the winter months in ancient Greece were primarily a period of hardship and scarcity, or if careful planning and the bounty of the harvest allowed for a relatively comfortable existence, while certainly challenging for the poorest. Successful landowners and communities, thanks to stored olive oil and grain, could weather the colder months with a degree of security. Enjoying the fruits of their labor, the olive trees themselves enter a period of dormancy, a quirky tidbit. While not as dramatic as the leaf shedding of deciduous trees, their growth slows significantly. The leaves remain, a constant silver green, but the tree conserves its energy, preparing for the burst of growth that will come with the spring rains. You might walk through the quiet grove and feel the stillness, a sense of patience in the very air. The trees seem to be dreaming, storing up the wisdom of the past season and gathering strength for the future. It's like they're taking a long, well-deserved nap after all that hard work producing the liquid gold. During this winter reprieve, the focus for the farmer shifts indoors. You might find them in a small workshop, repairing broken tools from the harvest, sharpening the edges of pruning hooks, or patching up the large collecting nets that were so vital just weeks ago. The scent of wood shavings and raw fibers might fill the air, replacing the earthy aroma of olives. This meticulous maintenance ensured that everything would be ready for the next spring's growth and the subsequent year's harvest. It was a proactive calm, a preparation for the future disguised as rest. Families would spend more time together, gathering around the hearth, sharing stories and warmth. The stored olive oil, so carefully collected, would now be used daily for cooking, fueling lamps that chased away the long winter nights, and even for simple medicinal remedies for coughs and colds. You would see the steady glow of olive oil lamps illuminating faces, creating a soft, inviting atmosphere as tales were told, lessons were taught, and bonds were strengthened. It was a period of drawing inward, focusing on the core unit of the family and household. Beyond the immediate farm, communities would also experience a shift. Public festivals might be less frequent, replaced by smaller, more intimate gatherings. The rhythm of trade, while not entirely halted, might slow as well, dependent on the weather and sea conditions. The quietness of the countryside would be particularly noticeable. A profound silence broken only by the sounds of daily life, far removed from the bustling markets of summer or the lively activity of the harvest. You could almost hear the land breathing, resting, preparing for its next burst of life. This period of post-harvest peace wasn't just about idleness. It was a necessary recalibration. It allowed the soil to recover, the trees to store energy, and the people to rejuvenate from the demanding physical labor. It fostered an appreciation for the bounty they had received and instilled a sense of patience, knowing that nature works on its own timetable. You feel the cool, dry air on your skin, a sense of quiet contentment pervading the landscape. The olive groves, though bare of immediate fruit, hold the promise of future abundance, waiting patiently for the return of spring. The subtle changes in the light, the shorter days, the occasional chill wind, these are the gentle reminders of winter's grip. But even within this stillness, there's a profound sense of continuity, an unbroken cycle that has played out for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks lived in deep harmony with these rhythms, understanding that rest was as vital as labor. You can almost hear the quiet satisfaction of a farmer looking out over his dormant grove, knowing that the liquid gold is safe in storage, and that the trees, like him, are simply taking a well-deserved break before the dance of life begins anew. It's a truly peaceful moment, a profound invitation to slow down and embrace the quiet hum of the world. From the quiet stillness of the winter grove, your perspective now widens, reaching beyond the local farm to the vast, shimmering expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. For the ancient Greeks, olive oil was not just for internal consumption or lighting their homes. It was a powerful engine of their economy, a commodity that journeyed beyond the borders, driving trade and connecting their world. You can almost feel the gentle roll of a merchant ship, laden with amphorae, cutting through the azure waves, carrying the liquid gold to distant lands. This extensive trade in olive oil is a mainstream historical fact. Greek city-states, particularly Athens, were major producers and exporters of olive oil, distributing it across the Mediterranean basin. Imagine the bustling ports, Piraeus in Athens, or bustling harbors in Corinth and Rhodes, filled with the clamor of merchants, sailors, and stevedores. The air would be thick with the scent of salt, fish, and the subtle, earthy aroma of olive oil being loaded and unloaded. This was the lifeblood of their commercial network, bringing wealth and influence to the city-states. Historians still argue whether olive oil was primarily traded as a luxury item for the wealthy, or as a staple commodity for a broader population. While high-quality oil certainly commanded a premium, its widespread use for cooking, lighting, and hygiene suggests that various grades were traded to meet diverse demands across the ancient world. It was a bit like coffee or tea today, enjoyed by everyone, but with specialized, high-end versions for connoisseurs. The amphora, that iconic two-handled clay jar, was central to this trade. Remember those painstakingly crafted vessels we discussed earlier? They weren't just for farm storage. They were designed specifically for long-distance transport. You can picture them, packed tightly into the holds of wooden merchant ships, often standing upright in layers, sometimes with sand or straw packed around them for stability during turbulent voyages. Each amphora was a self-contained unit of wealth, carrying the essence of Greek agriculture to markets far and wide. A quirky tidbit about this trade: many amphorae carried stamps or inscriptions indicating their origin, the city-state where the oil was produced, or even the name of the magistrate in charge that year. These ancient brand labels, or quality control stamps, allowed buyers in distant lands to know where their olive oil came from and to trust its quality. Imagine ordering your olive oil from Carthage and being able to tell it came from Athens, just by looking at a little stamp on the jar. It's an early form of international commerce and quality assurance. A silent message from the producer to the consumer across vast distances. The export of olive oil wasn't just about economic gain. It also facilitated cultural exchange. As Greek olive oil flowed into Egypt, Phoenicia, Italy, and beyond, it carried with it aspects of Greek culture, their pottery, their tastes, and their influence. It was a soft power, spreading Greek traditions and culinary habits throughout the Mediterranean. This peaceful exchange of goods contributed to the interconnectedness of the ancient world, creating a web of relationships built on commerce rather than conflict. You can imagine a merchant haggling in a crowded marketplace in distant Sicily, negotiating the price of a shipment of Attic olive oil. The transaction wouldn't just be about money. It would be about establishing relationships, building trust, and ensuring future trade. The gentle clinking of coins, the animated chatter of different languages, the smell of exotic spices mingling with the familiar scent of olive oil. It was a sensory symphony of ancient commerce. The sheer logistical challenge of transporting such vast quantities of liquid in fragile clay jars across potentially treacherous seas is something to ponder. Storms, pirates, and simple navigation errors were constant threats. Yet, the reward was great enough to justify the risk. A successful voyage meant prosperity, not just for the merchant, but for the entire chain of production back in Greece. from the olive grower to the press operator to the potter who made the amphorae. It was a truly integrated economy, all revolving around this humble, yet incredibly versatile fruit. As you consider the journeys of these amphorae, from the sun-drenched groves to distant shores, you realize that the olive tree wasn't just rooted in Greek soil. Its bounty literally branched out across the ancient world. It carried Greek civilization in liquid form to eager consumers, embedding itself in their diets, their lamps, and their rituals. The gentle rocking of the waves, the soft creak of the wooden hull, the distant cries of seabirds. These sounds accompany the flow of this liquid gold, a testament to its quiet power as a catalyst for connection and prosperity. It's a reminder that even the most seemingly mundane agricultural product can be a global commodity, shaping economies and cultures far beyond its place of origin. From the bustling ports and ancient trade routes, your attention now gently shifts back to the very heart of the olive industry itself, observing how the methods and technologies for cultivating and harvesting olives have slowly, subtly, undergone changing tides through the millennia. While the fundamental principles of growing olives have remained remarkably consistent, human ingenuity has, over vast stretches of time, introduced innovations that subtly altered the rhythm of the harvest. You can almost feel the slow, imperceptible march of time, bringing new tools and techniques to an ancient practice. Initially, as we've discussed, the earliest methods were utterly rudimentary hand-picking or gently beating the branches with sticks. This was efficient for small, subsistence-level farming, ensuring high quality. This basic approach, a mainstream historical fact, endured for centuries, demonstrating its effectiveness and the limited technological advancements in agriculture during the early periods. The reliance on human and animal power was absolute, shaping the pace and scale of the harvest. Historians still argue whether significant advances in olive cultivation techniques occurred due to scientific study or simply through accumulated empirical knowledge passed down through generations. While systematic agricultural treatises did emerge later, much of the early evolution was likely driven by practical experience and observation by countless farmers. It was less about groundbreaking theories and more about slight, iterative improvements, learning from each season's successes and failures. One of the most notable, yet gradual, changes involved the tools for harvesting. While long poles were always used, their design slowly became more specialized. Imagine the evolution from a simple, rough-hewn stick to a more refined pole with a purpose-built end. Perhaps a small, blunt hook or a wider comb, designed to dislodge olives more effectively without causing excessive damage. This improvement, while seemingly minor, would have increased efficiency and reduced labor time, making the harvest slightly less arduous. It's like upgrading from a basic wrench to a specialized socket set, still doing the same job, but way smoother. Another quirky tidbit in this slow evolution was the development of different types of nets for collection. while early nets might have been simple weaves of coarse fibers. Over time, the Greeks likely experimented with tighter weaves, different materials, and larger sizes to maximize efficiency and minimize contamination. Imagine a net that is not only larger, but also designed with reinforced edges, allowing it to be dragged or manipulated more easily. This focus on improving the collection process on the ground, rather than just the picking from the tree, speaks to a holistic approach to the harvest. Recognizing that every step contributed to the final product. Beyond harvesting, changes also occurred in the pressing technology. While the lever press remained a staple for a very long time, later innovations in the Roman period and beyond introduced more sophisticated screw presses. Imagine the shift from relying solely on dead weights and a fulcrum to a mechanism that used a turning screw to apply immense, consistent pressure. This significantly increased the yield of oil from the olive paste and also allowed for more efficient extraction, leading to larger scale production. You can almost hear the rhythmic turn of the screw, a sound of greater mechanical power than the creak of the ancient lever. This was a slow but impactful shift, gradually changing the sounds and movements of the pressing shed. The adoption of more advanced irrigation techniques, though often localized and dependent on water sources, would also have played a role in the changing tides of olive cultivation. Better watering, even if still labor-intensive, could lead to healthier trees and more consistent yields, moving away from a total reliance on unpredictable rainfall. This improved reliability would, in turn, influence the planning and scale of the harvest, making it a less precarious annual event. Even the understanding of pruning techniques would have evolved. While the ancient Greeks certainly pruned their trees, over centuries, knowledge of how to prune for optimal fruit production versus vegetative growth would have become more refined. Imagine the patient, practiced hands of an olive grower, precisely shaping the branches not just for aesthetics, but to maximize sunlight exposure and airflow, ensuring the best possible fruit set for the next season. This subtle horticultural knowledge, passed down through generations, was a continuous, quiet tide of improvement. Ultimately, these changing tides were not revolutionary bursts of innovation, but rather slow, evolutionary shifts. The essence of the olive harvest, the connection to the land, the labor of human hands, the reliance on the tree's natural cycle, remained constant. But the tools became slightly more efficient, the presses a bit more powerful, and the overall process a touch more refined. It's a testament to the fact that even in ancient agriculture, there was a continuous, subtle pursuit of improvement, a quiet dedication to making life a little easier and production a little more bountiful. You can almost feel the subtle shift in the air, a gentle breeze of progress moving through the ancient groves, connecting the deep past with the ongoing, quiet evolution of how we work with nature. It's a reminder that even the most enduring traditions are not entirely static. They breathe, they adapt, they slowly, almost imperceptibly, change over time. As our journey through the ancient Greek olive harvest nears its quiet conclusion, you find yourself looking at the olive tree not just as a plant, or a crop, or even a symbol, but as an enduring green, a living testament to a timeless legacy that continues to shape our world. From those sun-drenched hillsides in ancient Greece, the influence of the olive tree has spread far beyond its borders, its quiet strength and profound utility leaving an indelible mark on history, culture, and even our modern lives. The most mainstream historical fact of this legacy is the continued global importance of olive oil. Today, extra virgin olive oil is a coveted culinary staple worldwide, revered for its flavor, health benefits, and versatility. The ancient Greeks might not have had the scientific understanding of monounsaturated fats or antioxidants, but they instinctively recognized the nourishing and health-giving properties of their liquid gold. You can walk into any grocery store today, anywhere from Athens to New York, and find bottles of olive oil, a direct, unbroken line stretching back to those very presses and amphorae we discussed. It's a remarkable continuity, isn't it? Historians still argue whether the perceived health benefits of olive oil in antiquity were based on empirical observation or interwoven with philosophical and religious beliefs about its purity. While ancient texts certainly lauded its medicinal qualities, modern science has validated many of these traditional uses, demonstrating a profound, if intuitive, understanding by the Greeks beyond the dinner table. The cultural symbolism of the olive tree remains incredibly powerful. The olive branch is still a universal sign of peace, a symbol recognized across languages and continents, directly traceable to Athena's gift to Athens and its use in ancient Greek diplomacy and celebrations. Imagine a modern peace treaty being signed, and the quiet presence of that ancient symbol, whispering tales of reconciliation and new beginnings. It's a quirky tidbit how deeply ingrained this visual language remains in our collective consciousness. The olive tree itself, with its gnarled trunk and resilient nature, has become a metaphor for endurance, wisdom, and longevity. You see it depicted in art, referenced in literature, and planted in gardens around the world, not just for its fruit, but for its profound aesthetic and symbolic value. It connects us to a sense of deep time, to the idea that some things truly do last for generations, even millennia, quietly bearing witness to human history. The very landscape of the Mediterranean, particularly Greece, is defined by the olive grove. Even today, vast tracts of land are covered by these ancient trees, many of them direct descendants of those cultivated in antiquity. This isn't just agriculture, it's a living cultural landscape, a continuous testament to human ingenuity and connection to the earth. You can visit these groves today and feel the same warm sun, hear the same cicadas, and smell the same earthy scent that would have enveloped an ancient Greek farmer. It's a sensory bridge across time, a truly peaceful connection. The techniques of olive cultivation and harvesting, while having seen modern advancements, still retain echoes of ancient practices. Hand-picking and netting, though sometimes augmented by mechanical shakers, are still employed, especially for premium oils. The fundamental process of crushing and pressing, though now mechanized and refined, mirrors the ancient methods. This practical continuity speaks to the enduring efficiency and wisdom of their early innovations. It's like watching a modern chef use a traditional recipe that's been passed down for centuries. The tools might change, but the essence remains the same. The economic significance of the olive tree, 2, continues its timeless legacy. It remains a vital agricultural product for many Mediterranean countries, providing livelihoods for countless farmers and contributing significantly to national economies. The trade networks, though globalized and vastly more complex, still carry the liquid gold from producer to consumer. Much like the ancient amphorae once crisscrossed the Mediterranean, as you reflect on this enduring green, you realize that the story of the ancient Greek olive harvest is not just a tale of boring history. It's a story of resilience, ingenuity, and a profound, lasting connection between humanity and the natural world. It's about understanding a rhythm that transcends time, a cycle of growth, labor, and bounty that has sustained cultures and continues to do so. The quiet dedication of those ancient farmers, the patience of the trees themselves, the simple yet profound magic of transforming fruit into oil. It all comes together in a soothing narrative that spans thousands of years. The sun has now set, casting long shadows across your own room, just as it did over those ancient groves. The scent of olives, though faint, seems to linger in your mind's eye, a comforting aroma. You feel the gentle hum of history, a quiet continuity that connects you to the past. The enduring green of the olive tree, steadfast and bountiful, stands as a timeless symbol of peace and sustenance. Let its quiet strength guide you now, as you drift into a deep and peaceful sleep. You know, it's funny how, even after all this time, the echoes of those ancient lives can still reach us. The ancient Greeks, with all their bustling cities and their deep philosophies, were still just people, connected to the land, searching for sustenance and peace through the quiet rhythms of the earth. They cultivated the olive, not just as a crop, but as a sacred gift, weaving its presence into their myths, their daily routines, and their very identity. The pressures they faced were different, the stakes impossibly high, yet their quest for calm, for a bit of downtime, feels so utterly familiar. So, as you drift deeper into that peaceful space between wakefulness and slumber, remember those ancient olive groves. Remember the gentle rustle of leaves, the patient labor of human hands, and the simple, profound magic of transforming fruit into liquid gold. Their world might have been filled with marble temples and epic poems, But the quiet moments of connection to the land and its timeless bounty were really no different from the moments of calm you seek tonight. Let the final images of those sun-drenched hillsides, the soft gleam of fresh olive oil in clay amphorae, or the comforting glow of an ancient oil lamp, guide you now. The cares of your own day are fading, just as they did for those Greeks long ago. There's nothing left to do, nowhere else to be. Just ease into the quiet. Let the remaining thoughts gently slip away and surrender to the soothing calm. Sweet dreams, my friend.